Okay. So in business logic, what we are going to discuss, we are going to discuss about a few options that we have in Salesforce, which will help you automate certain things in Salesforce, right? Automate, when I say, there are certain things which can be automated, like giving value to a field. That thing can be automated. Okay. I'll just give you a simple example for that. Let's say you have a field called price. In case you have a table, in that you have a field called price, and you have a field called tax. Right. And the tax is 10% of price. There is a straight calculation for tax. But every time you don't want to calculate the tax and enter the value yourself. Manually you don't want to enter. You rather want to automate this tax part. Because there is a logic attached to it. It's 10%. So if I define a formula there, it can easily fill, the system can fill it from the back end. I don't have to give it, put the value for it every time. Okay. So this is one example. Okay. So this is using formula. So under business logic, there are 4 things. One is formula. Second is validation rules. Third is workflow rule. I'll talk about all these, but fourth is approval process. So formula example we were just talking about, that in case I have certain field values which have a clear defined logic. So in all these you can automate certain steps, but you need to have that clearly defined logic. Okay, just give me 1 minute, sir. Is it clear now? Are you all able to hear my voice clear? Is my voice clear? Okay. Okay, now fine. Great, thanks. So, formula is a kind of business logic, right? So this formula thing, I think most of you must have worked on formulas in Microsoft Excel, right? In case we have worked on Microsoft Excel functions and formulas, it's pretty similar to that. So in Microsoft Excel, what we do, we define a function, and after that the calculations can be automatically done. So similar kind of thing can be defined in Salesforce. So automated calculations of the field value based on certain logic. Okay, so that is one thing. This is what we can do. I'll show you how we do that. Second thing is validation rule. Validation rule is what? A rule for validating the data. That is what it means, right? Okay. Let's say you want to restrict, the data entry by certain rules. That okay. Let me take the same example, price. You want to define a rule that in any scenario, price should not be less than $10. Whenever someone enters a price which is less than $10, it should throw an error, right? Sometimes it happens, no? You are filling a form on the website and they say, okay, fine. Let's say you are trying to book a flight ticket and you're taking a date, before today's date. They will say at least, you can book a flight for date after today or today, not before today's date. So that sort of thing. So there you need to define those validation criteria that, okay, fine. This data should not be allowed. So that is what is happening here. The data is getting validated there. So here we have an option of defining a rule to validate the data and throw an error in case correct data or valid data is not being entered into it. Fine. So this is one more business logic. Again, we can have a clearly defined logic that only this range of data should be allowed in it, or only this thing should be allowed in this, right? So that is a validation rule. Workflow rule is a rule that defines flow of action. Fine. So you have an option of defining a workflow rule. So what workflow rule basically does is it defines a flow of action. So from one thing to the next thing. Let's say whenever a record is created in the system, you want to send an automated email. That is where your workflow rule will work. When someone goes and makes certain changes on the record, you want an email to be sent to the record owner that this day you change your record. Automated emails kind of things, or automated field updates, updating the fields automatically, or assigning tasks automatically to the users. That is what a workflow rule will be able to do, right? And approval process, as the name suggests, defining an automated approval process. Approval process means, let's say there is some data which has got created and it requires an approval. Okay, it needs to go to someone for an approval, and after that it needs to be approved by that person and all. So that is what approval process is. So there are these four things here: formula, validation rules, workflow rules, approval process. So we'll start with formula. How to put a formula? So formula is basically a field. It's nothing but a field type. Okay. While creating your fields on Salesforce, you might have noticed that formula is a field. Vijay, could you please share the login ID password?